Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem Ruach HaKodesh. Yahweh, the true powerful name of the Heavenly Father. Yahweh Shai, being the true name of His only begotten Son, the one who people in this world even call Jesus Christ. I want to give double honors to the elder apostle, great millstone, and rule well. Salutations of much love, the rest of you, sincere, Aki, and pushing the word, and truth and sincerity. Also, by Hashem, in the name of Ruach HaKodesh, and Holy Spirit. Okay. This is the Cleric Azar coming to you with another lesson, and I'm just continuing in the spirit. Basically, I'm going to get right into it. I'm going to just be calling this lesson, if you're still going to the Christian church, and basically, let me not laugh, because let me just say, hey, I got my start there too. I want to back in late 70s, early 80s, I was, Baptist, going to church with my family and so forth. And I want to say late 80s, early 90s, we went to a Methodist church, and I was talking about my father being the, my father was the head usher, and I was just an usher underneath him, assistant usher or whatever, getting the offers and tithes and so forth, bring it up to the pulpit and so forth. And so I remember, going up in the church and, singing the choir and hearing the pastor preach and, bring out certain scriptures and so forth. But I tell you what, there's one little thing that was always in the back of my mind, and I'm surprised it's not in, in a lot of you Jake mind, and you Jake are you blacks, Native Americans, Latinos, which make up the 12 tribes of Israel. I'm surprised you never once said to yourself, wow, after all these lessons you're going through in the scriptures, how come, you're not stopping at certain books? As a matter of fact, it wasn't until I got into the truth that I even heard about the book of Obadiah. So that's one of the things you need to be asking your pastor if you're watching this video for the first time. Hey, how come we never go into the book of Obadiah? How come, we don't go into prophecies? That was one of the main things I used to really love and enjoy. Speaking of my father, over 23 years ago, because he passed when I was younger, and this is when I wasn't in the truth, just talking about prophecies, talking about, book of Revelations, and, of course, back then we believed in the rapture doctrine, which we don't believe in anymore, and I can break that down for you. But, just different things, just the prophecies alone. I never knew that. And it wasn't until I came into the truth and learned from the elder apostles on down that there was prophecies in the Old Testament that still haven't been fulfilled yet. You would think, too, especially if you were in the Christian church, if you were supposed to be a follower of Christ, which Christ only strictly means anointed, you would think you would have the understanding of certain prophecies that were misunderstood or misinterpreted from the Old Testament to the time that Yahweh Shai walked on the earth. You would think there'd be certain things you can point out, and you can go into the Psalms and say, hey, these certain things identify Yahweh Shai as the Messiah and certain things, and they would at least compare the sacrificial lamb to the conquering lion. You don't get any of that kind of breakdowns when you go to the Christian church. Do you even know anything about the Lion of Judah? That's in the scriptures. You would think you would know that. Are you even explained or even taught, why the Jews are the royal line? Can an average Christian go into the scriptures and break that down? Can an average Christian even know where the word Jew even comes from? So if you're still going to the Christian church, you should be embarrassed by yourself. Shame on you at this point, because you definitely have gotten to the point where you've definitely come across some Hebrew Israelite, whether you've been driving around, whether you got one of your family, you got an acquaintance or friend or somebody. Okay. Let me just keep on going. And I really could have made a list on this. I'm just going off the top of my head. Brought up tithes and offerings earlier. Like, does anyone even understand the Christian church, why it is a tenth? Does anybody can explain, what the whole objective and role of the tribe of Levi is, what a Levite is? Like, people in my own family, I still got to explain, where the word Levitical comes from. Like they never even heard of the word, the book Leviticus. Okay, that's one of the first early books of the Bible. 66 books, but my goodness, like, and of course, now not including the Apocrypha, but still, okay. Then let's not even talk about the Apocrypha, because then, and I will admit too, because even when I was in the Christian church myself, if you were to ask me the story between Jacob and Esau, I couldn't tell you, but I can tell you about the story of Elijah and the chariots of fire. That always fascinated me. Like, oh man, somebody actually left the planet Earth without dying? That was always fascinating to me. I believed in the chariots before I knew even what a chariot was. But did he even bring that up anymore in the Christian church? I bet you ask a pastor nowadays about the chariots of fire, like can you show me another segment of the Bible where, there's a chariot of fire? I'm not even sure if they even know, if they even can even sit back and break down Yahushua bringing out the chariots, But hey, and also, what about the whole reincarnation thing? So you would think that with all the different lineage that's described in the early Gospels of the Scriptures, you would think that'll be broken down to show you the lineage. But since they tell you about the Holy Trinity and they teach you about the Immaculate Conception, you're not even getting the full breakdown of how Yahushua is a real biological descendant of King Solomon and King David. And I remember hearing that when I wasn't in the truth. And it went right over my head. I was like, wow, King Solomon is an actual ancestor of, and I didn't know at the time Yahushua, so I said Jesus, but, I didn't know that at the time, and that's very interesting. And just know how that conflict going back all the way into the Old Testament still is applicable. And what's the word I'm looking for? It just has to do with what was happening in the current times, just past, present, and future, really. Because like I've said in the past, and I've heard this in the past, he's like, this time that we're living now is the biblical times. So you would think these so-called pastors in these particular churches will be bringing out particular biblical times so that people will see the times. Doesn't even the New Testament say you can watch and pray and things like that? But how are you going to know what to watch when you're not even know what to watch for? So, just, oh my goodness, like, I remember there was a time in the early church, the same church I was talking about in the early 80s, we used to talk about, or bring out the fact of the rapture doctrine and things of that sort, the mark of the beast and things of that sort. It was at least, brought out so it was on your mind. I was 5 or 6 years old. Here I am, I was about to be 48 in 2 weeks, and I can't say. And of course, I haven't attended church since I was married. That was almost close over 15 years ago. But that wasn't taught about. They talk about the prosperity movement, though. They talk about your money. They make sure to bring that up. They make sure to talk about, things of that sort. And if you're still not questioning that, and you still haven't, you don't see all these different scandals and things that are going on in this Christian church and things of that sort. And shoot, we can go into the Catholic Church if we wanted to, but I'm just check on you Christians. Okay, because this is plantation Christianity. Okay, if you never question the fact that, hey, there were certain parts of the Bible that weren't even taught to you while you were in slavery, and practically the same parts that you're taught when you're in slavery, you're being taught today. Okay, but I can go on and on. I could probably make a part 2 of this. I could let me see what else. How about Psalms 83? Who would ever have thought that the enemies of Israel will still be alive and breathing today? Let alone, you're not even taught that you're an Israelite. What about that? There's a lot of people I ask about the 501c. They know about that, but they don't know anything about any gag order or anything. So they're just getting a watered down version. They're not even getting the full breakdown of Genesis 49, where you see all the sons of Israel sitting around with Jacob. And then they don't understand how that has to do with Revelation 7. Look at all those books between Genesis and Revelation that you can count and name. And then all of a sudden in Revelation 7, you see, these tribes of Israel popping up again. Okay? The foundations of heaven, the 12 pearls and so forth, 12 foundations, the names of Israel, the 12 apostles and so forth. How can the kingdom of heaven be for everybody if everything, if the name of the Israelites are on it? All right? There's an old saying, hey, I don't see your name on it. You know, so if you Christians are still going to church and you call yourself Christians, and let alone, you probably don't even know why you're even called a Christian. You know, Christians were called Christians first in Antioch. You know, and you go into the Bible, you can Google these kind of things. I put that in Google a couple days ago. Okay, but hey, if you're still in Christian church and you still don't know, have a clue, like, well, I'm assuming you don't have a clue what's going on because that's why you're there to begin with, and you're probably just going as a fashion show. You're either you're going for the women or you just going there to give away your money. Either way, salvation is far from you. All right, but you need to start, listen to the Hebrew Israelites, starting with GMS. Start from there. Get yourself out of that Christian church, boy, because you're not getting any edification there. All right, but if you're still going there, I don't know who can save you if Yahushua hasn't done so already. I'm just going to leave it at that. Just wanted to bring that out. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. I want to give all praises to Yahweh, Hashem Yahushua, who gives me the strength and the spirit to continue to strive and endure in these last days. Shalom to the hopeful elect, and on to the next video.